My first experience roofing was when I was 15 years old. Me, my dad, and my uncle, we put a roof on my grandma's house, and it was not a big job, but it was summertime, and I ended up falling through the roof, and it was a pretty rough experience. And after that first roof, I swore to myself, I was like, there's got to be a better way to make a living than roofing.
So I have been in and out of the construction industry most of my life. Growing up, my parents had apartments, so if it broke, we fixed it. So when I went off to college, I wanted to find a degree that could really help me help people, because that's what I'm really passionate about, is helping people in my neighborhood and community. So I went to school, got originally for nursing, went to EMT, and finally settled on Parks and Recreation Management, because the outdoors is where I feel most comfortable and have the most fun. So I wanted to educate people about their surroundings.
When I was in college, I helped build another roof. I worked at a restaurant, and the owner of the restaurant, he had asked if anyone wanted to make a little side money on the weekend, and so I helped build his roof as well. And once again, it was summertime, it was hot, and carrying all the bundles up the ladder, picking up all the trash. And once again, I was like, there's got to be a better way to make a living than roofing.
So come full circle, as a lot of people have experienced, what you go to college for isn't always what you end up doing professionally. So I had trouble finding a job in that originally, but I moved to Columbia back in 2012 after grading my degree. And trying to find a job, I ended up back in the medical field. I did that for a long time, but I was more stuck in an office administration role and not able to actually be out and influence people's lives.
So fast forward to 2013, when me and my wife got married. We had moved to Atlanta, and I was applying for work, and the only place that called me was a roofing company. And when I went in for the interview, I thought it was going to be to work on the roofs, and the owner of the company, he had said it's not to work on the roofs, it's to sell the roofs. And for me, it was like a fish to water, that I liked working with the homeowners, I liked working with the crews, managing the jobs. In 2014, a bad hailstorm hit Columbia, South Carolina, and that company, they had asked if anyone wanted to go to Columbia to work that hailstorm. So I ended up coming to Columbia, South Carolina in May of 2014, and we helped, hundreds of homeowners in the Columbia area. And when wintertime came, that company, they want us to move back to Atlanta. And me and a coworker, we decided not to move back to Atlanta and ended up starting our own company. And that company is where I had met Ben, right here in Earlwood Park.
Randomly at the time, my neighbor actually got me into disc golf. So by virtue of coming out and playing disc golf, I actually ran into Joe Wallace. I actually met at the disc golf course right here at Earlwood Park, right behind us. And that's kind of where the magic started to happen.
And that's how my relationship with Ben started. So the first time I met Ben Stiles, he was over on hole 9 at Earlwood with his wife, and me and my wife were walking up. And it's not typical that you see a couple disc golfers playing. So when I saw Ben Stiles, I was like, hey man,
there's a guy.
What's up? Y'all wanna go play disc golf? And so originally it just started out as just, a friendship, just playing disc golf here in the Earlwood community, and was a natural thing to be like, hey, you wanna come make some money?
And that's kind of where we started more of a working relationship together over the future, is because we enjoyed hanging out with each other. So it made sense to get me out of a place where I didn't really enjoy working and find an industry that I've really fallen in love with. It really made a lot of sense.
We had already had the knowledge and experience of running a business. We already had a customer base that believed in us. They didn't care what our company name was, but they believed in us, and they wanted us to be their roofing contractor. Mm-hmm. So starting Vista Roofing, we hit the ground running, and we already had jobs in the works, and so it was a pretty smooth transition.
Yeah, it worked out really well. We had customers that when we left, they weren't tied to a company, they were tied to us as individuals, because they saw how much we cared about them as people and making sure their project was done properly.
So before we had started Vista Roofing, our company name had Palmetto in the name. And we had people that would call us up, say, hey, you guys did my roof 15 years ago and it's leaking. And we're like, no, we're a new company. And so we decided that we didn't want to go with the typical, Palmetto roofing or Capital, something. We wanted something a little different, but also wanted a kind of local presence behind the name. And here in Columbia, we have the Vista. And so we decided that Vista Roofing had a nice ring to it, and a large part of our workforce is Hispanics and Spanish people. And so we wanted to recognize that we are dependent on our Spanish friends. And Vista is view, so our view of roofing. And so that's where the name Vista Roofing came from.
So the next thing we really had to workshop and play with is trying to figure out what kind of color palette we wanted to go with. So my favorite color has always been blue. It's a good color that looks good on me. And then Joe's wife is actually from Ukraine. So the Ukraine colors are, of course, the blue and gold. So those two colors really represent us as people, and it really shows off who we are as individuals, because blue skies are what makes us happy.